All right, part two. The other question you asked about was your D term. Uh, Now you said that the D term is oscillating, and you don't worry about that. D term is going to oscillate. That's the P term oscillates. And the D term is the derivative of the P term. So, for those of you who aren't, calculus experts, that means it's going to be even more twitchy. The, when the P term moves, the D term is going to move even more. We can balance that somewhat with the relative gain of the two terms. Don't let the fact that your P gain is 3.0 and your D gain is 25 make you think anything about the actual relative size of the underlying output of the PID loop. Those numbers are all being run through various multipliers and dividers and who knows what else. So we can look at the black box traces though, and we can see the relative strength and magnitude of the two terms. But the fact that that D term is jumping around, I said, the D term's like a kind of crazy chihuahua, right? And the I term is like a basset hound loping along, and the P term is somewhere in the middle, I guess. I don't know. A border collie. Yeah, a border collie. That's a good one. It's not a crazy hyperactive chihuahua. But it can run. Okay. Um, but what I do see here, though, and I just scrolled through your logs and looked for, just anything that stood out. I see some cases like this. This what I don't want to see. I think, and again, ultimately, how it flies is what matters. If you do a flip or a roll and it stops sharply and you don't see any little jitters or signs of excess noise, then forget what black box is showing you. That's what matters the most. But not having your copter in my hands or some flight video, look how the D term is significantly higher in magnitude than the P term. D term being the yellow line, the P term being the red line. Same thing on roll. Really, like it's a little more than maybe twice the magnitude here. That I kind of don't want to see. And look at the gyro here. The gyro, notice that the gyro is moving directly out of phase with the P term. When the P term is down, the gyro is up. When the gyro is up, the P term is down. That's bad. That's not good. That means that the P term it's constantly when P term is always going to be a little bit behind the gyro and responding to the gyro, or in as much as external conditions are affecting the copter. So if you got the copter in your hand and you tilt the copter to the left, the gyro will show the left roll, and the P term will move to oppose that. The P term will lag the gyro a little bit. On the flip side, if you're hovering and you move the stick, now the P term will lead the gyro because the stick has created the error internally, and the P term is going to push the copter to move in a given direction. But what we got here is they're like perfectly out of phase with each other. The P term and the gyro are never able to resolve their differences. When one is going north, the other's going south, and then it turns around, and now one's going south and the other's going north, and it's just a mess. So this, where they're perfectly out of phase like this, I don't want to see that. What's happening there, by the way? How is that happening? The answer is the D term is messing it up, right? The D term is throwing it off, is my guess. That's what I think I'm seeing here. If we were to look at PID sum, yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know. But I feel like the D term is too active here, and I feel like that's creating that problem. Um, so I think I would reduce D gain. What's your D gain? Now it's interesting because I said that your D gain was on the low end of what I would expect, and it is, but there you go. Shows what I know. Your D is 25 on roll. That is not a lot of D. That is not a lot of D. So with a 25 on roll, I kind of feel silly telling you to turn it down, but man, I mean, is that just one? See again, anytime the copter gets destabilized, here you are at the end of a flip. Anytime it gets destabilized, D gets really huge. The rest of the time, it's not too big, and it's actually kind of hard to even see what's going on. It's so, so maybe this is a case of where if we try to tune for like this 5% random rare occasion, we'd mess up the tune the rest of the time. It's kind of hard to tell. No, even here, I mean, there's something about the way Blackbox represents Lux float traces that makes the traces be really close to the axis and hard to read. But even here, you can see the P term is tiny, but the D term is still way bigger. And likewise here, look here. Nothing's really going on here. You're not really, in fact, let me get rid of the roll here. This is really interesting. Okay, I can see it a little better. Um, the P term is oscillating here, yes, but it really feels to me like the D term is driving the oscillation and the P term is kind of responding to it, rather than that the P term is causing the oscillation. And here again, look at the relative magnitude of these. This is probably like 4 times as big on the D term as it is on the P term. So I think you should, yeah, look right here. That just doesn't feel like that's good news to me. So I think the D term should come down. Your D terms are 25 and 35. Try 15 on roll. That may be too much. That may be too much of a change. Try 15 and 25. I'm surprised to even say that because those seem really low to me, but there you go. Um, I don't think your filtering, your D term filtering doesn't seem wrong to me. 15, it seems, I've come to the conclusion that I'm coming to the conclusion, and if you check with me again in 3 weeks, I'll be saying something even different, maybe. I don't know. I never know when I've come to the right conclusion, so you just have to be along for the ride. But I'm coming to the conclusion that trying to lower D-term cut hertz until you get really smooth D traces filters out necessary frequencies that results in some of those prop wash oscillations that we've been talking about, and that actually you shouldn't have a perfectly clean, smooth D-trace in terms of making rounding off all the edges. That some of these jaggies and stuff maybe are necessary. So I don't think your overall D-term cut hertz looks bad. Your gyro traces are super clean. Um, just seems like your D gain is too high. And if you tell me you reduce the numbers and then you started getting bounce back on flips, I'd be interested to hear what your result is. Because on the one hand, your D gains are already not very high, and I'm suggesting you lower them. But on the other hand, this trace is really, it seems kind of unambiguous. So I'd be really curious to get your feedback on what happens when you reduce the D term and whether that makes the copter fly worse or better. Okay. Is there anything else that I forgot about? I don't think so. Alrighty, great. Hey, hope that helps and happy flying.